And then it's 80 million for him.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
just for the one character. To take on the adaptation of Something is Killing the Children for a multiple year run.
It's done. That's it. And then it was like, but it's coming back. And then it's like, no, it's not. And then, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Collective Comics and the Lights Comics Action Podcast. We are diving into episode number 21 here today.
21, dude.
We're bragging about 4 hands last week, and now we need a fifth.
Yeah, we don't even have enough.
Yeah, start using our
toe
toes
up here.
Yeah.
Feet under.
Right. Man, we got a pretty big week this week. We're talking Wakanda Forever.
Yep.
That came out with an Assembled on Disney+.
Yep.
We're talking Netflix, a whole bunch of different streaming.
Yep. And we got
things.
a little bit of Spider-Verse news too, or potential news. So it's gonna be a fun week.
Yep, definitely a fun week. Diving in first with the Netflix news. That good news for us is that, at least for me, is that I've been a fan of Something is Killing the Children. It took me a few months to really hear about it and then actually start reading it. But almost from the beginning. Yeah. Almost from the beginning.
And then once you heard about it, it was just on after that.
Yeah, it was game on. The switch was flipped, and I fell in love with it. The spec is that, or the spec, I don't know.
The comic talk.
Yeah. We're going to talk spec here in a couple minutes.
Right.
But Netflix has signed a contract with a couple of their different creators from a couple of their other shows, and I can't pronounce their names because I'm just terrible with
Yeah, we're bad at names.
Yeah, especially when it comes to I'm Mexican, but I'm terrible at Spanish names. I can't read it. It's hard for me to read in English, and that's my first language. So have fun reading in Spanish. So I'm just terrible at that. But they do have James Tynion involved.
Okay.
They do have James Tynion involved to take on the adaptation of Something is Killing the Children for a multiple year run.
Okay.
Is what they signed the contract for.
Well, I feel like with something like that, you have to do multiple years, out the gate. Because otherwise...
And it's a show.
Yeah, you'll run into a DC thing where, you know what I mean? You'll just get somebody and people love them, and then all of a sudden you can't afford them, and they're not on contract, then they are on contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and then it's 80 million for them.
Right.
Just for the one character.
I think signing people that way is just going to work out so much better in the long run, especially too. You know what I mean? Especially if they're going to get a smaller actor or...
Which they should.
And then they blow up after that, and then it's well, now I need 4 times the amount. It's well, you're on contract. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So, not that they shouldn't get what they deserve, but if you blow up because of it, give it a couple years, for your time. You know what I mean?
Right, 100%. And then, so that's really, really exciting, especially for me. I think I've been saying it almost from the beginning. I was like, dude, this would make an awesome video game. This would make an awesome movie.
Yeah.
So we're finally getting to see that. And Netflix isn't a stranger to...
Stranger Things.
Right? They're not a stranger to comic book adaptation.
Horror. It's kind of right up their alley. They kind of... They do some horror stuff. They do kind of the bloody stuff pretty well. That's kind of what lives on Netflix almost, I feel like. You know what I mean? I watch a lot of comedies and stuff on Netflix, but
thrillers.
Yeah, but they do that stuff really well. I feel like, you know what I mean. So,
Stranger Things. If it has any sort of vibe towards Stranger Things,
yeah,
I'm for it.
Right,
I'm 100% for it.
I think that's something that Netflix does well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So where else? You're not gonna if it was on Disney, I don't know if it would be as. You're not going to get the same show if it was on Disney Plus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to get the same. It's not going to be as popular on Hulu. Right. It's not going to.
I think the only other one that could really stand the test is if HBO Max did it.
Yeah, but it would be so tangled up in that Warner Brothers Discovery, the whole thing. I'm actually pretty happy. I know there's a lot of people who feel a certain type of way about Netflix right now, but I feel like Netflix is probably the best place for it, to get eyes on it and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Realistically, yeah. And they need something because, they, as far as, they're no stranger to comic book adaptations, but they don't do the superhero thing very often.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Sandman, not a superhero.
Right.
You know, and that's what kind of comes out of Netflix. So they take these like almost B-side stories in these like main comic realms.
Yeah.
And do their own adaptation of it. And I think they work out very well. I don't know. I mean, I think Sandman season 2 got canceled.
I haven't heard anything about it in a while. Right after right after it finished, it was like, it's done, that's it. And then it was like, but it's coming back. And then it's like, no, it's not. And then, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. It is kind of confusing because it is DC. So why is it on Netflix, and what is James Gunn gonna do? And you know what I mean? There's a lot of moving parts in that. And that's what I was saying too, is like, I'd almost hate for like this to go into HBO. But I mean, you see things like The Last of Us and things like that too. So we'll see. I mean, I think Netflix is a great home for it. But
yeah, me too. And the fact that James Tynion is going to be the one approving this, you know, and if they make changes, he's going to shut it down. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? James Tynion wrote Batman. He wrote Nice House on the Lake. So a lot of big DC things coming out of him. I believe this is going to be the first almost kind of indie comic to come to a main streaming platform like Netflix. And get picked up like that. This is Boom Studios is an indie comic. I don't know how indie it is anymore.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because you do see some Image stuff here and there, but you almost feel like Image is like kind of on the same.
Yeah, that's exactly 100%. Because when it started out, you know, and Spawn was first a thing, 100% indie comic. But now Spawn is getting more and more mainstream. For sure.
I think that's like the flip side of it, though, is like, besides Spawn, like what else is on that level from Image? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I can't remember. Is Fairyland Image or is it Boom? I can't remember. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I want to say it's Boom.
I want to say it is too.
Yeah, Boom has picked up some crazy storylines. Yeah, and like it's becoming more and more mainstream, which, you know, I'm not against at all. You know, I don't. If they're gonna go and be competing with Marvel and DC, go for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna back you all day long.
I think that's a great. I mean, I think that we need that. You know what I mean? I don't. Like we said previously, we've kind of just become Marvel and DC by default, but like, even Dark Horse Comics is doing some cool stuff. You know what I mean? And even like there's just really cool stuff coming out of these indie things, but it just doesn't have the eyes that like a Marvel or a DC has. Mm-hmm. So if anything, that brings more attention to these indie comic companies, whatever they're, you know what I mean?
Publishers. Yeah.
I think it's great. And, you know, bringing some light to smaller artists, bringing some light to people that are doing this stuff all on their own.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the coolest part. You know, when you know, Todd McFarlane's massive. He's huge now. You know what I'm saying? But where he started, where it came from, he had his own style, and how he decided to go, hey, I'm not going to work for Marvel and DC anymore, and I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to start my own publishing company. It's a really crazy, awesome story. You know, now that it's a little bit more mainstream, you don't think about it like that, but that's what it is.
I mean, look at like Peach Momoko. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the next one that's going to happen.
She went on with Marvel, and she signed some stuff with Marvel, but she's great. And if she wouldn't have done that, how many people would have missed out on her? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the status that came from her style and the promotion and publishing that Marvel has on that level,
right?
You know, to where if they want something to be successful, all they got to do is dump money into it, and they got it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm super happy for her, but it's also like one of those things where like an artist shouldn't have to just pair up with Marvel to get their name out there. You know what I mean? And it's not like I'm sure she had a following before that. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. But you just put that following on steroids with Marvel. You know what I mean? It's like
100%.
It's like when your favorite band signs with a major label. I mean, there's a lot of downsides to music and major labels, but you know,
and I'm sure, I mean, it's business at the end of the day, and I'm sure when it comes to releasing somebody else's creative product, that it's probably along some of the same lines.
And there's always going to be somebody who's like, I liked her before she was with Marvel.
Always.
You know what I mean? It's always going to happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would love to bring more attention to smaller artists and smaller writers and inkers and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. James Tynion, not that he's a small artist. In the comic community, he is a massive writer. He's not so much an artist, but a massive writer. He does these dark adaptations and dark stories very, very well. And that's what Netflix is going for. And, you know, just another thing to throw in there, and see something like that get to a mainstream kind of level, to where these are going to get a lot more eyes on comics in general. You know what I'm saying? So like people that probably would have never picked up this comic, you know what I'm saying? Like a few months back, I got gifted a book.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Of Something is Killing the Children. And when I said, you know, what it was, and I said the title of the book, everybody gave me this look like what are you reading, dude? You know, and I'm like, no. But now that this is going to happen, I bet you all those people are going to be like, what is... Okay,
it's a Netflix like, I just saw this. I bought. What is this? Help me, like, or like, be like, dang, you were ahead of this.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So
but it's like if you would have got like a Spider-Man comic or a Iron Man or Batman, it wouldn't have even, you know, been a second look, you know. But you know, Something's Killing the Children, or I Hate Fairyland with the covers, and you know. Just some other stuff like Survival Street. You know, we covered Survival Street, and I read a few issues of that months back. But, you know, that's such a cool idea, and there's so many cool ideas out there that just don't get the eyes because it's not Marvel. It's not, you know, shoved down their throat every day. You know what I mean? It's not, you're not going to turn on NBC News or something and see stories about it every day. You know what I mean? So
definitely. But you know, when something gets this kind of hype, now it probably has the potential to do something like that. This is an Eisner Award winning book. Won 3 of them in 2022. That was just a year ago. And
I think we're just in such a good place right now with making these things into shows, because they're, I don't remember who I was talking to. It might have been Corridor. We've talked about them a million times. We're going to talk about them later.
Right.
But they were like, we're in a place where it costs less money to make a show than a movie right now. So people are just making shows, and there's little smaller directors out there that want to, you know, get their feet wet, you know, put something out there. And then you got things like The Last of Us happening right now, where they're taking a game and making it into a show, and they made it into comics, and they made it into everything. So I think we're in such a good place for things like this to happen, and I think that's awesome, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that I think it's kind of almost beneficial to the consumer that it is less expensive to make a show, if that makes sense, because now they don't have to spend as much money, and then they have 6 or 7 hours of content and of a storyline, where with these movies that you're spending so much more money on, you know, you're getting an hour and a half worth of content, and that's it.
Right.
You know, so
give or take.
Yeah, I
feel like movies are all like 3 hours now for some reason. You know what I mean?
Extended
like,
cuts and everything. Yeah, let's make it a 4-hour movie. Let's just push that boundary.
We'll be like sitting there, we'll be like, let's just watch a movie or something. Let's do this, let's do that. We got about an hour and a half, and we just can't find one. If that's an hour and a half, it's like, I remember when all movies were an hour and a half. And then you had to get like the double VHS you know what I mean?
Right.
For like Titanic and
it's literally, I was just about to say that, and like Green Mile.
Yeah. I was thinking of like Pearl Harbor or stuff like that. But I think it's super dope. I'm excited to see it. And like I said, I'm kind of happy it's on Netflix. It's just like one of those things where it's like, even like Lord of the Rings is on Amazon right now, and I don't hear anything about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's diehard fans that are going to be talking about it, but you know, Stranger Things and other Netflix exclusives, like, people are talking about them. You know, as much as they want to talk about how much they don't like Netflix, people are talking about everything that Netflix puts. Not everything. Not everything's a diamond. You know what I mean?
Right.
But people talk about Netflix exclusives like crazy. You know, what's the last like Hulu exclusive you heard people talk about? You know,
right.
It's like, we'll see. I feel like I say we'll see a lot on this, but I mean, that's all we're doing.
Right. We're just seeing.
We can speculate and talk about how we feel about it now, but then we can't, know until it's out.
Right.
Well, I got some stuff I want to talk about too. Getting back into Marvel.
Right.
So there's rumors. I don't know how close we are to knowing if this is true or not, but there's rumors that Tom Holland is going to make an appearance in Into the Spider-Verse.
I believe I heard that too.
There's talking. I said we're going to talk about Corridor. Let's get right back into Corridor. Corridor made the short of like, what if all the heroes were in the Spider-Verse, and they used AI to put all of the Marvel heroes into the Spider-Verse, and Tom Holland was like their doorway in.
Okay.
So, like they could literally hire Corridor to make that little short for them, or, it's definitely possible to do. But there's also rumors going around that there's going to be like different, because it's going to be like jumping through universes and portals and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There's rumors that there's going to be different anime styles for every different place that they end up in.
Oh, cool.
So like, how like Spider-Ham and, all the different Spider-Men in the first one were different styles.
Yeah. So
now we might see like their style of comic and see Miles jump into their verse or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's one theory that we might actually get Miles jumping into a live action verse, and that might be their way to be like, this is our Miles now. Like, whoever they get to play Miles in that might be the Miles moving forward. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, you know what I mean? Because like, I think it would be cool to have all of those different styles. Like we've talked about a million times, I love animation styles and big on like colors and art. Yeah. And so I'm pumped to see that. And it would be interesting to see if they do go live action, who they go with to play Miles. I know the one kid from Stranger Things, talking about Stranger Things, there's some people going around saying that that's who they want, and that's some people talking about it.
Yeah.
The guy who actually voices Miles, though, I love him as an actor. He's in a few different things. He was in The Get Down. I don't know if anybody's seen that.
Do you know his name?
I don't. Okay. He's in, I think it was called Dope, where they end up talking about crypto, like before crypto was huge.
Okay.
He's in a few other things. I wanted to say that too earlier when you were like, we're bad with names. I always realize like we talk about their roles instead of their names, because that's just what like we remember, and it's easier like
for everybody to kind of make that connection, and we don't have to say out loud that we forgot it, but now we're paying attention to it.
It's just like talking about a role, like later we're talking about Wakanda Forever and Assembled later. It's like talking about Okoye and Shuri and Ironheart, and it's just easier to remember those than like those actors' names. You know what I mean? So, I thought that would be interesting to see who they get to cover to play that.
Yeah,
Miles in a live action verse. If we
that'd
get
be cool.
That.
I have a feeling, for some reason, like in my head, I'm thinking like they're gonna animate Miles like into a live action, and that's gonna be Miles. You know
that
what I'm
would
saying?
Be intense.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's like if we're sticking with that kind of thing, like is that what's gonna happen? I mean, I'm not opposed to it. It would be cool to see a live action Miles though.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah,
because I know it all started with Donald Glover, or not Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. Isn't that Donald Glover?
I don't know.
Not Danny Glover. That's the old guy. Anyways, Childish Gambino was like, that's why he played his uncle in the first one. In the first Tom Holland, he was like the weapons dealer or whatever.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be Miles' uncle in that. So we'll see what they do, and see if maybe we'll get a Childish Gambino cameo again coming up in another Spider-Man.
We'll see.
Moving forward into not Stranger Things, Walking Dead. Have you seen The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Like at least part of it?
Yeah.
You know who Glenn is?
Yes.
My favorite character. I stopped watching Walking Dead so long ago.
Me too.
Like before I stopped
I'm talking
watching
like
it before it was
season
cool.
2, season 3.
Season 3 I think was the last one I watched too. But Glenn from The Walking Dead is apparently signed on to Thunderbolts.
I heard something about this.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're apparently going to see him as the villain or one of the villains in Thunderbolts. And there's 2 different characters he might be playing. We might see him as Sentry, which I think is going to be weird because he's a little bit small to play Sentry in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the other one is Amadeus Cho, the Hulk, the Hulk version.
Okay.
Which I think would be super great for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that would be a great role. And seeing Glenn turn into a Hulk would be so funny. We're like, he's a little small for Sentry. Let's see him as Hulk.
It's like, yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, they can change it. They can change it. Just don't pull a She-Hulk.
Yeah. And then transitioning into the Wakanda Forever, it has been confirmed, I believe. What I saw said it was confirmed, but everything's up in the air right now, as we've talked about for how many weeks now.
Right. It's always up in the air.
Namor is going to be making an appearance in Kang Dynasty. So we're going to get more of Namor, which I'm super pumped for.
Me too.
Man, I loved Namor.
That was intense, dude. Like he was very intense.
Yeah, he won like best new actor or something for that or something. He won something for his performance.
Being an early at an early stage in his career to do something like that and to just be so powerful in that role is a huge accomplishment for any actor, you know.
It was so cool. Carrying that into Wakanda Forever Assembled. If you haven't seen it, it's out now. I know like back in December it was put out that we were going to get an Assembled of either Wakanda Forever or the Guardians thing.
Holiday.
Yeah, and the holiday special, and I kind of kept checking back into Disney Plus just to see if any new Assembles got put up. I like kind of wonder if they were planning on the holiday special, and they're like, if we put this out right now, we're dead. Yeah, like, I mean, I would be kind of curious to see like the mentality and everything behind the making of the holiday special. You know what I mean? Like why they chose to do what they did, and you know stuff like that. But we finally got Wakanda Forever. We never got one in December. Right. As you can imagine, the beginning of this was really heavy on Chadwick. You know, talking the loss of him and how much of like a family they became on the first one. Tugging my heartstrings, but they talked about it for like 15 minutes, and I was like, I feel for them. This is sad, but I don't want a whole assembled of talking about Chadwick.
Right.
You know, make him a documentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I would watch that 100%.
Yeah, if I want to watch a Chadwick documentary, you give me a Chadwick documentary and I watch it. But I don't want a whole behind the scenes of a whole movie to be a Chadwick documentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then they quickly moved into stuff, and I was like locked into this one just because I did not know how much of this movie was practical. So there's not like. There are special effects and stuff like that, but not as much as you'd probably think there are. So that's why, like, if you go back and watch Aquaman and Atlantis and how cheesy and corny that stuff looks, and then you go watch, like, the Wakanda Forever and look at Talokan, whatever it is, it's, like, so good. Because they literally put their actors under the water and shot them. Almost all of Talokan was handcrafted, hand chiseled, hand carved, like set pieces. Every totem was like hand carved, and they put all this stuff underwater and put them in the water and put the actors in the water, which is crazy because Shuri and Nakia didn't even swim before. They didn't even know.
They couldn't swim.
Nakia like knew how to swim a little bit, but Shuri was like not wanting to do it.
I mean, I guess like, you don't have to know how to swim to sink.
Yeah.
You know, like they need to be under, like, good. You don't know how to swim. You're not going to have your natural reaction to like stop you. But get under there.
It's crazy, dude. Like, just if you haven't seen it, go see it. If you're into like the special effects, practical effects, set design, that stuff is super dope in this. Yeah. They talked about another corridor thing. That's where I learned dry for wet and wet for wet. So wet for wet is when you have a water scene and you actually do it in the water. Dry for wet is when you basically take somebody and hang them or put them on a green platform or a blue platform in front of a blue or green screen, and you basically blow a fan on them, and then you slow it down and it makes it look like they're underwater. So like their hair blowing slowed down will be like moving, you know, so that's dry for wet. They used a little bit of it in this movie just for like movements and stuff, like because Namor could swim super fast. Like obviously you can't do that, you know, in real life.
They just pull him on a boat.
Yeah.
Just put an anchor on his feet and just.
That'd be wet for wet.
Yeah.
so yeah, wet for wet. But it's just crazy, like how much, like. I watch a lot of the corridor stuff. They do like special effects breakdowns of like scenes, stunt breakdowns of scenes, and then Olivia's always like, "Is this real? Is this real? Is this real?" I'm like, I don't know.
Right? like I can't tell. I guess that makes it good.
I mean, there's some stuff you can definitely tell, and I kind of learn little tricks that they use to find out. I'm like, oh, okay, but like. Wakanda Forever is definitely one of those, like, I have no clue what's real and what's not real, and it turns out a lot of it was real.
That's pretty crazy.
So it got even deeper into this, so like...
No pun intended.
Yeah, in deep blue. You know all Namor's people?
Yeah.
How they were blue and had all the stuff and gills? All of those were practical.
So they put them all in makeup?
Yeah. They literally... 3D printed. They 3D printed all these gills, like, and then like formed them out of silicone. They glued them on. They painted everybody blue every day. All like most of the jewelry and most of the stuff was all real.
Wow!
And it's just like, holy cow! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, like, there's extras added in afterwards, or like the ventilators, I guess, but they're full of water, so I don't. Are they still ventilators? Those obviously weren't real because like they
needed to actually breathe
and flashed over, you know, and they're full of water and stuff like that. But like, there's so much stuff that was actually practical in this movie. They're like literally walking through Talocan. Like,
that's crazy. It's funny because it sounds like the big things that you think would be fake are real, and the little things that you think would be real are fake.
Yeah,
like,
right.
They're ventilators and stuff like that. Like, that's kind of funny.
But then we got into going back to The Walking Dead. First of all, I guess Olivia told me, my wife told me, that the girl who plays Okoye is the girl from The Walking Dead.
Okay.
I didn't realize that, but she does apparently like almost all of her own fight scenes, a lot of her own stunts. They actually had her there learning all this stuff, and it was super intense. And she's like in there with stunt doubles, and like when the other ones couldn't, she was just doing their fighting scenes with stunt doubles and all kinds of stuff. So
wow.
Super cool.
That's sick.
I feel like I'm talking a lot.
Dude, I mean, I didn't.
You haven't seen it yet.
I didn't get to see it yet, but now I know what to expect.
Right. I'm
ready.
Now I feel like you need to go see it.
I want to see it so
all
bad
this
now.
stuff looks so cool. I did tell you to watch it, so it's not like I'm just spoiling it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
For the listeners out there, yeah,
they're gonna be like, "This dude is just totally ruining it."
I'm like, we're talking about this,
right?
So
I mean, I don't, when it comes down to stuff like that, I'm like, let's talk about it on the podcast. Inform me, because you informing me informs them, and then they're happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It works.
the one thing that I did want to talk about a little bit with you is, and I don't know how much of a talk this is going to turn into. Okay. Remember the Midnight Angels when Okoye gets her crown removed or whatever, and she's not part of the army anymore, and she becomes a Midnight Angel with the blue suit, and they're flying around.
Oh, yeah.
We had talked about how we didn't know if they were in the comics or how much they were in the comics, but they basically took that whole design straight from those comics.
Oh, cool.
So like the whole character and everything is straight out of comics. They basically had a picture of it from the comics next to like the actual thing that they used, and they modeled it right after all of that stuff.
That's cool. That's really awesome. I wanna see that picture now because they did something totally different with MODOK.
Oh yeah, right. But
I loved it.
What we
though.
talked about though is like, how are you gonna do MODOK? You know what I mean?
Right. You
like,
kind of have to
funny.
You almost have to clown on him
The
a little
MODOK
bit.
in the room. And then moving into Ironheart, they actually found her because she auditioned for Shuri in the first Black Panther. But obviously the girl who played Shuri got the role, but then when it came time to cast Ironheart, they're like, well, we already have one.
Oh, cool.
So like they already had her in the back of their mind, and
the whole time she's at home like freaking out, like, am I gonna get the call? You know, and they're like, she's got it.
Yeah, I don't
her freak out.
I don't know if they even knew. Like they're like, hey, we have a movie coming up. Ironheart's gonna be in it. You want it?
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? It's like,
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's. Oh, I wanted to talk about the representation, which I thought was super cool. And I think even like the first Black Panther was super heavy in representation for just like actual cultures and trying to be as true to those cultures as possible. And, you know, we got African representation in them, which we don't get like heavy culture representations of accurate stuff
Right.
in those cultures. And they tried really hard to keep it as true as possible. You know, it's Wakanda.
Books. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like a real place, but even with the Mayans coming in this one, you know, I think I don't know if that's the reason that I liked that it was what it was instead of just being Atlantis again. Like we get Atlantis a million times, but they took the opportunity to like take this Mayan culture and bring it in, and every detail in every person's like outfit, costume, set, suit, everything was tried to be really representative of that Mayan culture, which I thought was cool. But they also took it a step further to be like, so Namor was born in the water, so he had never actually been there. So he's like basically designing Talokan, like through stories that he was told by whoever told him stories growing up. So, and it was crazy because like they came at it from a perspective that like he knew the Mayan culture, but only through stories. So they tried to make it accurate with a twist. You know what I mean? Because like, wherever you're from, like wherever your ancestors are from, you may have never actually been there, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're Greek, but you've never been to Greece and you've never lived that culture, you would base the things that you would put in a Greek design would be different than actual Greek. You know what I mean? So they took that mindset. If Namor designed this based on a story, how close would it be? But it would be skewed a little bit. So I thought it was really cool to like, you know, bringing that representation in and doing it in a way like if somebody's like Mayan in America, that's something like they would do because they've only been told stories their whole lives and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
The way to bring it into the screen, into the universe, and the whole 9 yards.
And just getting representation for different cultures that we don't see, and if we do see them, it's in a very like not accurate way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So like, I think that's something that Black Panther has always done really well is we want to represent this culture. How can we do them right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how can we do right by them? And like I said before, it's
with
like
keeping it in a fake world with superpowers and stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
like I said before, it's like I know some people were upset about the whole Atlantis thing, and Namor came first before Aquaman, and why can't he do this? But it's like,
I'm sure there's a number of reasons why that had to happen, but they did a good job.
And just being able to just open up that representation, like we said, that we don't see is so cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, especially with this one, we get a lot more like the female perspective with Shuri becoming Black Panther and Nakia going and saving her and Okoye fighting. You know, I think we just get so many good looks in this movie.
A whole lot of different points of view, especially like it's almost even like a not necessarily a coming of age story, but kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you have to step up and get responsibilities, becoming a real adult in society and a functioning member in your culture and society. That's another story that's kind of told there, where she's battling, you know, herself on the inside from being a kid, you know,
and all the people that she's lost, because she loses her mom, she lost her brother.
Yeah, and then she has a whole tribe and everything that is looking up to her to step up, and it's almost like she doesn't want to yet. You know what I'm saying? She wants to still be a kid and do those kind of things. So it's a very real story for most people that, you know, if you're not there yet, you'll get there. You know,
it actually went into another point that they made about how, like, when she auditioned and she got the role, like, her role was to be in a lab. Like, her role was to be the sister. Her role, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we lost Chadwick, or when they lost Chadwick, it was, she had to step up in real life to, like,
everything.
You know what I mean? To be able to make that character change, to make all that stuff happen. And they just kind of shouted her out, like, not everybody can do this. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody can just be cast for one role, and in the second movie, it's like, oh, this is your role now. You know what I mean? You are the Black Panther now, and it's just crazy. And, you know, props to her for being
stepping up,
dynamic like that. Yeah,
they really thought about. It's kind of cool because they really thought about every angle and even portrayed that into their movie.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Even with Riri or Ironheart, they had said, like, in real life, the girl that played her is like, she basically is her character, like the first generation of her family to go to college, the first, like,
oh dang,
coming up from pretty much nothing. Like, I think it's really cool that, you know, talk about representation. It's like almost everything about this movie was a representation of something. You know what I mean? Shuri having to come up and be Black Panther, from being cast as what she was to be what she is now. Yeah. The character that Ironheart was being played by the character that was basically Ironheart in real life. You know what I mean? Right. Other than the Tony Stark tech and you know, the suits. And,
how can you do that?
But even then, it was like, when you mix that realness and that emotional, that representation, with how practical this movie was, you know, the first Iron Man suit, or the first Ironheart suit, the one that she built in the garage and stuff. Yeah. Spoilers if you haven't seen this movie yet. But that was all practical. She was in that. They had to figure out how she could move in it. And
how to actually make it work.
She was like she was able to, like, basically dance in the suit and move around in the suit, and they had to figure out how to do that.
If she doesn't show up to a Comic-Con this year in the suit, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah. Oh,
no.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't even know if I wrote this down, but the exosuits. Talk about practical. Okay, the exosuit that Shuri got in to go all the way down.
Oh, yeah.
So she could bear, like, the pressure of the water. So these suits are real. They are $1.5 million per suit. And they were real. Like,
she went in the water with it and, like, was able to breathe. And wow, dude. So that's some military grade stuff.
It is. That's exactly what it is. And once she's in there, she's in there. So like they were saying they had to have like they had to create a whole new safety protocol because like they're like, what if water starts filling it up? And they're like, what if the air gets detached? And I guess the person that was there with them working with the suits are like, actually, the thing you have to worry about is if a fire starts inside the suit, then they're like, what? What? You know what I mean? It's just like, that's so 1.5 million for the suit, but that suit would have never, all right, so we had some we had some technical difficulties. So if it looks a little bit different, that's why. Moral of the story: the Wakanda Forever assembled is cool. Let's just get into the pull list.
Let's dive in.
Explosions.
Alrighty, man. First book on the pull list. What are you pulling this week?
This week on the pull list, I got How I Became a Shoplifter #2.
There we go.
This one, so you had talked about shoplifters will be liquidated, and I thought it was this book.
Oh.
But this book I saw a cover of and I really liked, so I picked up the first issue. Haven't read it yet, but I'm like looking everywhere and I'm not seeing that these are connected in any way. I thought maybe this would be a prequel or something, but
who put this one out?
Sumerian, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So I don't. Yeah. If anybody knows if these are linked or connected in any way, let us know.
I believe that Shoplifters Will Be Liquidated was Aftershock.
Okay.
Aftershock Comics. So I don't know. They could be. They could have got picked up by a different publisher, switch publishers, something like that. So they very well could be.
I have no clue as far as like how that goes. But it looks like this one is going to be like more of a like flashback type stuff. You're looking into the characters' pasts and the shenanigans that they used to get into.
Yeah.
And it's like nostalgic for the characters. So I think it's super cool. These covers are super cool. And, I'm excited to jump into this.
Diving into book #2 on this pull list, I put on ASM number 21. ASM number 21.
Oh, no.
There's it was the cover that kind of drew me in. It's just like him and Mary Jane, and it's like what could possibly be happening in this issue is kind of what it's saying right on the cover. And even in the synopsis, it's just saying that what happened between Peter and Mary Jane, what did Peter do, and that basically the story arc it's the beginning of a new story arc,
right?
And that you're gonna get those answers to whatever Peter did to cause this, and like who's actually like behind it. So apparently Peter's actually safe. Apparently, who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to.
In regards to his and Mary Jane's relationship.
I'm kind of curious about this one too, because now that we're kind of not in that dark web world anymore, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with ASM. Book #3 this week is going to be Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, #6.
Boom.
This is one that we kind of been following, and it looks like Joker is going to be in LA, and he's enjoying it there, so he decides to get involved in LA politics, which could be a whole nother comic.
That's interesting.
But we'll see what he gets into. This laughing line, the covers have been crazy.
Oh yeah, man.
We got Jason Todd, we're getting all kinds of stuff. So we'll see what else they can tie in now that he's in LA and where he's going next.
Joker for mayor. Yeah. Joker for mayor. I'd vote.
Joker. I'm just, for some reason when you said that, I was thinking of Bel Air and like Fresh Prince and thinking of the Joker in Will Smith's role. And oh man, that'd be an interesting story.
The Fresh Prince of, no, the Fresh Joker
of Bel Air.
Yeah. Man. Book #4 on the list. Last and final book.
Final book. Last book. And before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And check in with us to see what we're doing with these pull lists and podcasts and more.
Definitely. We're coming at you every week.
Weekly.
Batman and the Joker, Deadly Duo, issue number 5.
Yeah, how do we almost forget this one?
Yeah, I don't know. We just had a lot of technical difficulties.
Yeah, we've been trying to shoot this podcast for a while.
It's been a mission. It's been a mission. But yeah, book number 5, always on the pull list. This whole issue, I believe we're going to have 7 or 8 issues in this line, and who knows where it's going to go from there. But we're getting through it, and Batman Joker teaming up makes for a very, very interesting story. Not all the way caught up yet, but I'm getting there.
Right. Yes. I think this one is super cool, and all this Batman Spawn stuff has been interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's going to wrap up our podcast and pull list for the week. Be sure to check the links in the descriptions for things like free money when you use our link in the description. How many times can I say that? Use our link in the description to sign up on Whatnot. Get a free $10 to use on Whatnot. Get 10% off of your Jitless Energy at Dubby.gg. Collective Comics at checkout. And until next time, this has been Collective Comics.